I'll start from the very beginning. Um, I grew up in a family of five brothers and sisters, including myself. And I was the youngest of five. I came on like 13 years behind everybody. So I had a normal childhood. Went to church every single Sunday with my family to a Lutheran church. And I believed in God, but that was about it. I didn't really understand or take anything to heart growing up in that environment. So when I was 12, my world quickly changed. My brother had committed suicide, and without going into much detail about that, my parents adopted their children, so I now had two new sisters in my home. Um, with my parents reeling from the tragedy of all of that and very busy with my younger sisters, I was probably 12, 13, 14, 15. I started going down the wrong path. When I was 15, I was actually arrested for shoplifting. And I remember my mom, the disappointment in her face, saying, I do not want another Donald. That was my brother. And that straightened me out, because for her to compare me to him was devastating. So I was straightened out for quite some time until I graduated high school. And I again started going down the wrong path. And I basically lived for the weekends. I worked, lived for the weekends, drinking, looking for love in all the wrong places, and dabbled in drugs. And I can stop here now and say that I can now see where God placed people in my path, even though I was going down the wrong path. I had a music teacher who was a Christian, and all she talked about was Jesus. But I kind of tuned her out. And I went to an actual Christian youth group. And again, all they talked about Jesus, and I was there just to have a good time. But I really didn't listen or take into heart what was going on or think I needed any saving. I just was living to have fun. After getting married at 22, I had three children. My marriage started crumbling terribly, and I was completely broken. I remember saying to God out loud, is this what there is to life? And Lord, please help me, because things were bad, and this is not what I had planned for my life. Little did I know he was going to show himself in a mighty way. One evening, my husband and I got into a very huge fight, and we had friends that had just stopped by our apartment, and we never hung around them because they were Jesus freaks. Now, these are the people we hung around with in our party days, and so we never really had too much interaction with them. But they stopped by, and my friend Brenda told me later on that God told them to come to our apartment. That was not a coincidence. I cried to her, and I was completely broken, and she prayed for me, and I can't even remember what she prayed. I was just broken. And she gave me a little tract, and I went to bed that night, and I read the tract over and over and over again, and knew that I needed a savior, but I didn't even then quite understand what was going on. And I just remember waking up the next morning and having the weight of the world lifted off my shoulders, literally a physical weight lifted off my shoulders. again, still not really understanding that, but God had another plan. I was working in a place with about 15 women in the same office, and right next to me was a woman whose husband was a pastor of an evangelical church. And I remember coming in on the weekends and saying, oh, I had a cigarette, or I cursed. And she's like, I didn't even ask you what you were doing, but God was convicting me big time. God continued to convict me, and over the years, and has done many great things in my life and has provided for me. And I could tell tons of stories, but I won't because I'm at my limit. So, but that's how the Lord worked in my life and continues to work in my life. And I am so forever grateful, because I was walking a path of selfishness, and He had completely turned my life around and my heart. And thank you. That's it.